This podcast contains our own personal views, not associated with any organisation. Coronial contains descriptions of death inquests that may be graphic and disturbing to some listeners. Discretion is advised. Hello everybody and welcome back to Coronial. I'm Alice.
I'm Emma.
And I'm Georgie.
So today I'm going to be telling you about the inquest into the death of Bernard Gore, who died inside a Westfield in New South Wales in 2017. This case was mentioned to me by a friend and listener of the podcast, so thanks to Charlotte for the lead on this very interesting inquest. This inquest was held as Bernard's death was reportable, because the postmortem was unable to determine a cause of death and there were concerns around the search for Bernard. Bernard was a bread delivery driver and barber until 2008 when he stopped working full-time but still cut his friend's hair. He loved walking and was known to be a fast walker.
Okay.
Great.
Is that relevant to this?
I also enjoy walking.
Okay.
No.
It's just a fun fact.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You know what? I really dislike slow walkers, so
Yes,
I feel
me
like we
too.
would have been friends.
Oh, I am a dawdler all day,
I
every day.
can't deal with dawdlers, especially when they're in front of me and there's
Yeah.
no way of getting around them.
Oh, cannot wait to walk in front of you sometime.
He lived in Tasmania with his wife Angela, and they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in October of 2016.
Oh.
They had 3 children, one of whom lived in Tasmania as well, with the other 2 living in Sydney. Bernard and his wife visited their daughters in Sydney a few times a year, including in January 2017. So a little bit of sort of background. On the 17th of June 2016, Bernard and his wife went shopping in a suburb of Hobart. They went to run errands separately and agreed to meet back at the car, but Bernard didn't actually return to the car. His wife waited a short while before going home and reporting Bernard as a missing person at 6:20 p.m. Bernard was found at 10 p.m. in the Hobart CBD, which is about 5 kilometres from where they were shopping. Bernard was physically fine and in good spirits, but was vague when asked where he had been. When asked by police where his wife was, Bernard said that she was at the hospital and he was waiting for her.
Okay. So Bernard's getting some onset of dementia.
Yes.
How
Okay.
old is Bernard?
They didn't actually say,
But
I figured
50 years
50
married,
years married.
so
At
at
least
least
70.
65?
yeah,
Let's assume that he was older than 15 when he got married,
let's hope
but
so.
Let's just say 70.
yeah.
Older man.
Thereabouts.
Yep.
After a recommendation from police, Bernard's son bought him a watch with GPS capability.
So that the son could track him?
Well, I think probably then gave
Yeah.
access to the wife, but yeah.
Yeah.
Bernard's wife took him to a GP after this incident, and in August 2016, a mini mental state exam showed moderate cognitive impairment. Bernard was prescribed a medication used to treat dementia, and Bernard's wife saw a noticeable improvement after the medication was started, and a repeat mental state exam in December 2016 showed a mild cognitive impairment. So
That's good.
improved from moderate to mild.
It still surprises me how well people with dementia can function and how bad the dementia has to be before it starts becoming that obvious. Such as, like, yeah, it took them to one event where he seemed to have, very limited recollection of the rest of the day
Yeah.
before it became that obvious and noticeable.
Yeah. On the 16th of December 2016, Bernard and his wife went to visit their daughter in Sydney for Christmas, intending to stay for about a month. While staying in Sydney, Bernard went for almost daily walks, often by himself, lasting about 1 to 3 hours.
Do you reckon those 3-hour ones were when he got lost along the way?
Unknown.
But
Unknown?
he really likes
Okay.
walking, remember?
He does really like walking.
Yeah, but like,
There's not much else to do, I wouldn't.
yeah, okay, maybe 3 hours is what he wanted to do, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Cynical me's like, do you think he just got lost and it took him 2 hours to figure out how to get home again? Anyway.
Who knows? One of the common walks was to go to the nearby Westfield, which is about 1.5 kilometres away, and usually his wife went with him. So the Westfield has 2 zones. Zone A is on the northern side of Oxford Street, and Zone B is on the southern side of Oxford Street. The 2 zones are connected by underground interconnected car parks, a street-level crossing, and a sky bridge above street level. Zone A has 6 pedestrian entrances accessible from the street, and Zone B has a number of pedestrian entrances. They didn't specify how many, but
basically it's just a
There's a lot.
shopping centre that's split by a street,
yeah,
essentially.
and it's a
Mhm.
big one, like it's a Westfield. so it's
a
pretty big.
moderate shopping
And,
centre.
just got
Okay.
an air bridge in the middle.
When visiting the Westfield, the standard routine for Bernard and his wife was to enter via any of the pedestrian entrances to Zone A, and while his wife would visit various shops, Bernard would walk around with her but not actually go into any of the shops.
Mhm.
They often went to the food court on level 5 and to pick up groceries from Woolworths on level 3. Bernard often went to the toilets near Woolworths before they left to walk back to their daughter's house.
I'm really loving the structure of their day.
They had a
Mhm.
Westfield routine.
Yep.
They had a walking routine that
Yeah.
also involved retail therapy for the wife
Yeah.
while he
Yes.
just casually walked around, but then also had a pee break before he went to go home.
Oh, you
I
always
love
got-
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And they're getting their snacks and their food in as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So on the 5th of January 2017, CCTV showed that Bernard walked to Westfield and entered at 11:03 a.m. through the Zara entrance, which was almost directly above Woolworths, and then left at 11:23 a.m., also through the Zara entrance.
And this day he was just on his own.
Just on,
Yeah,
by himself.
okay.
So on the 6th of January 2017, it was raining in the morning, so Bernard watched TV with his wife. Once the rain had stopped, Bernard said he wanted to go to Westfield with his wife. While she agreed to go, Bernard was keen to get going, so he left first. Presumably she wanted to get dressed or get ready to go out and that sort of thing, so he was
Super keen for
Yep.
Westfield.
super
Okay.
keen to go for a walk. Around 12:30 p.m, Bernard left his daughter's house after making arrangements to meet his wife outside Woolworths at 1:15 p.m. Bernard was wearing a singlet, grey skivvy, black and red checked shirt, dark long pants with pyjama pants underneath, black shoes, white socks, and a white hat with black trim.
It's a lot of items of clothing.
Especially for January
For the
in
middle
Sydney.
of summer.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm like, wait, they're not in Hobart anymore. And
No,
it's hot.
Well,
Okay.
presumably it'd been raining in the morning, so it could have been a bit
a
chilly.
little cooler. Maybe.
It's still January, though. I still reckon it would have been. But either way, I feel like with
He's
the rest of the
layered.
family members have been like, that's a little odd.
It wasn't noted as being odd, so potentially that's
So it's
just
just
how
his
he
norm?
normally dressed.
He was wearing 2 pairs of pants.
He's wearing pyjama pants under his pants.
Yep.
I mean, I guess they're not over top, so that's something.
So CCTV showed the route Bernard took to Westfield, including showing that he entered through the Zara entrance at 12:48 p.m. He walked along level 4 to door L407, entering it at 12:50 p.m, and this is the last CCTV footage of him. His wife left the house at 12:50 p.m. and walked to Westfield, going to the Woolworths to wait for Bernard. When he didn't turn up at the agreed time, she searched the areas they usually went to in the Westfield but couldn't find him. Sometime after 2 p.m, she returned to her daughter's house.
And does he like have a phone on him or something?
I
Or-
don't think so, no.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm guessing she went back there because she's like, oh, he might have already left.
Yeah.
By the
Oh,
time
yeah,
I got
yeah,
here,
no,
maybe
yeah.
he's already back there.
But I was just like, did they call him? Did they have other ways of getting in contact with him? So the answer is probably no.
No.
Yeah, okay.
And he wasn't wearing his GPS watch that day because it wasn't working.
I was about to be like, so when did they track him?
It did
Okay,
not.
so he didn't have it on.
No. Bernard's wife called police at 7:59 p.m. to report Bernard missing, advising that he suffered from dementia.
Oh, that's such a long time for her to have been stressing over where he was.
Yeah.
Yep. At 8:18 p.m, 2 police officers attended the daughter's house and spoke to Bernard's wife and daughter. They talked about when Bernard left the house, what the plan was, that he had had early onset dementia, and provided a photo and a description of him. At 8:50, one of the officers broadcast a description of Bernard before they had to go and deal with other police matters.
Okay.
At 9:30 p.m, Bernard's daughter went to the Westfield and met with 2 patrolling security officers. She told them that Bernard was due to meet his wife outside Woolworths around lunchtime, had early onset dementia, and had been reported missing to the police, as well as providing a description of Bernard and the clothes that he was wearing.
I like that the security of Westfield were willing to help out. That's good. Like, because presumably this is after hours
Yeah,
at 9
I would think
p.m.
so.
Yeah. Okay.
The security officers later passed this information on to the security supervisor, and he started looking through CCTV footage from the camera that captured the entrance to the Woolworths.
Oh, so not where he actually went in though. Oh.
But they didn't know that at this point.
Yeah. No. They.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The security officers then went about their tasks while keeping a lookout for Bernard. They checked the mall area, including the lifts, escalators, and toilets, as well as the back of house, which included goods lifts, dock areas, and garbage rooms. At 1 a.m, one of the police officers called Westfield Security and spoke to the security supervisor about reviewing CCTV footage, although what was discussed differed depending on which person was asked.
Interesting, but also, I didn't know Westfield had security officers working at 1 a.m.
Yeah, they're there.
Yeah, they
24/7.
would.
Yep.
Have security officers around the clock, surely, with all the valuables that would be in a Westfield.
True. Yeah, I suppose you have someone on call.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yep.
Supervising. Yeah, okay.
The police officer said that he told the supervisor all entrances to Westfield had to be checked to work out whether Bernard had even made it to the Westfield, and that the supervisor said he would do this and notify police if they found Bernard. The security supervisor said that he told the police officer that he would check the footage from the cameras near Woolworths from about 12:30 p.m. to when Bernard was reported missing, and did not tell the police officer he would check all the entrances.
Right.
At 1:30 a.m, after returning to his base, the police officer created a missing persons event in the police computer system and therefore became the investigating officer, which was the first time he had held this role.
Okay.
Is that how you just become an investigating officer, is by reviewing things first?
But yeah, basically the police officer who takes the report initially from the person and then creates the missing persons report in the system.
Then becomes the lead investigator on that. Yeah.
Promotion.
That night, the security supervisor and one of the security officers checked the CCTV footage from level 3 of Zone A from 12:30 p.m. This included the Woolworths camera and 4 ID cameras near entrances, but not the Zara entrance, and they didn't see Bernard on any of the footage. At 6 a.m. the next morning, the next staff member took over as the control room operator in the security office. In the handover report provided to them, it stated, "I tracked CCTV and could not locate," but didn't specify which cameras were reviewed. The outgoing supervisor verbally told the operator that he had checked the entrances onto level 3 and the area surrounding Woolworths from about 12 p.m. the day before. This staff member then reviewed footage around Woolworths as the focal point of the review, because that was the planned meeting point. So the same morning, the police shift supervisor asked 2 officers to check whether Bernard had gone to any local hospitals and to follow up on the CCTV footage review that the investigating officer had requested. There was again poor communication, in that security said they were checking the footage to find out where Bernard was if he attended the Westfield, but specifics of which cameras were looked at were not discussed, and assumptions were made about security checking all pedestrian entrances.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is starting to become quite a significant delay and what was happening to him in that period of time, but I guess we'll get there. I'll be patient.
We will. You might need to be quite patient.
Quite patient. Oh, no.
On the evening of 9th of January, several police officers discussed Bernard during their shift handover, and one police officer suggested doing a search of the Westfield, focusing on stairwells and more inaccessible areas. That evening, 2 police officers were sent back to the Westfield to request CCTV footage and do a patrol. One officer recalled being asked to request CCTV footage of all entrances to Westfield, but the other officer couldn't remember his sergeant asking for specific areas. Again, there was a discrepancy in accounts between what the police remember asking for and what security remembered being asked for. In the end, the CCTV footage provided to police was of entrances or entry points to Woolworths from midday to midnight on the 6th of January. It was provided to police on the 10th of January, but wasn't reviewed until the 13th of January and was never completed. For reasons that we'll get to.
Right. I'm stressed for this family. Okay.
Once again, there were differences in accounts when it comes to the search of the Westfield, with police saying they asked security to check fire stairs and security saying that they weren't asked to help at all.
Oh, no. Okay. That's a big discrepancy.
Yep. The police officers walked through the car park and mall area of Westfield, but not the fire stairs, as they thought security were checking these. They then walked around the alleys and streets of Westfield, looking for Bernard and also CCTV cameras that they could then check.
I assume in the background they were looking in other locations as well? Or does it just not even mention
yet.
that?
We'll soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm like, they're really fixated on Westfield. Could he not have wanted other locations at this point that they don't currently know that he was in fact in Westfield?
Yeah.
Anyway, yep, that's fine. You go on.
So this walkthrough was the only police search of Westfield between the 6th and the 27th of January.
Okay. Oh, the 27th of January.
Yeah.
That's 21 days.
I'm stressed.
Yep.
Jeez.
Should be.
To be lost in a Westfield.
Yep.
Long time.
I mean,
lost.
Am I the worst person for being like, I wonder how long I could go into a corridor in Westfield and not be found for?
Yeah, those feeling like the fire stairs might be a bit of an issue here.
Yeah.
So between the 9th and the 27th of January, there were several searches for Bernard in the eastern suburbs, Woolworths Bondi Beach, which is a different Woolworths, Centennial Park, and wider Sydney.
And sorry, did they just walk into Woolworths Bondi Beach and be like, we're going to search for someone in here?
Yes.
What?
I don't understand
that we
logic.
didn't really go into this too much because there was no issue per se with the searches they did elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I think the thought was that maybe he got confused and went to a different Woolworths and caught a taxi to get there.
But also, like, where would he have hidden in that Woolworths in comparison to this Westfield?
I don't understand the logic.
I don't understand how he got lost in a Westfield anyway, but, like, yeah, I just don't know, like, what you're expecting to find in a different Woolworths, but that's okay.
Yep.
Go on.
Yep. On the 19th of January, a security officer was given the task of doing the monthly fire stairs check for levels 3 and 4 of Zone A of the Westfield.
Oh, he had a bad day at work.
Only because he didn't do his job properly.
Oh.
He should have had a worse day at work, I'm thinking.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
So he checked door L407, which involved walking inside the door, looking up and down, and then walking out again.
Oh, no.
Door...
Oh, I thought we were finding Bernard. Damn
no,
it.
this was on the 16th.
Then the 19th.
Oh, yeah, nothing was done to the 27th.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Door L407 leads to door L306, which opens onto Oxford Street, but this door was not checked.
Why is it like the one door or the one entrance that they don't check is the one that they needed to check?
There might be other doors that he didn't check well,
That's
but
true.
were not
that's
relevant to the rest. So he probably just generally didn't do a...
That's true.
We're making some assumptions that he maybe generally didn't do a great job at what he was meant to do that time.
Because if he had done a thorough job, then
we might have found Bernard. Yes.
Yes.
Earlier.
So at 8 a.m. on the 27th of January, a maintenance worker entered door L407 to investigate reports of a bad smell from that area.
I have no words. I just am like, oh, yeah, we know what that bad smell is.
Yep.
Oh, this is going to be bad for the maintenance worker. The maintenance worker is having a bad day at work.
Very bad day at work. So the maintenance worker walked to the bottom of the stairwell where they found Bernard in a semi-kneeling position on the ground with no signs of life. It looked like Bernard had been sitting on a chair found nearby and at some point had fallen off the chair. Not sure why there was a chair in the fire well, but, you know.
And he didn't have the chair in his hand when he walked through the door on the CCTV?
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah, okay. I was like, he didn't take a chair with him into the fire? Okay.
No. Bernard had removed some items of clothing, his hat, shirt, skivvy, and t-shirt. An autopsy failed to determine the cause of Bernard's death or his time of death. But there was no evidence of injury or trauma and no evidence of anyone else causing his death.
And you could walk back out of that door? It wasn't a...
No, you actually can't.
Fire doors, they're sometimes locked from the inside. So
okay.
I'm thinking he was trapped.
He got locked in and he couldn't get back out until he just got stuck in there?
Not quite. So after hearing from expert witnesses, the coroner said it was likely that Bernard survived for up to 3 days from the time he entered the stairwell.
That is horrible. What do you do in a stairwell for 3 days?
Sit there.
And I mean, especially when he also probably was disoriented.
Yeah,
and
he didn't know where he was.
And what he was doing.
Yeah. And now you think that, like, those searches that they were doing at that time overnight.
We're looking for him and he was there.
He was there the whole time and alive. Yep. Presumably. The whole time.
Oh. Okay, please go on.
So from the inside, door L407 can only be opened with a key. When in the stairwell, there's another door to the back of a shop which also can't be opened without a key. To the left of that door is a set of stairs. In the stairwell, clearly visible from door L407, there was a large exit sign painted in red with an arrow pointing down. There's also a green exit sign in the level 4 stairwell landing area. So, like those standard green exit signs that are everywhere. There is another large red exit sign with arrow pointing down in the stairwell leading from level 4 to level 3, and again in the level 3 stairwell landing area. At the base of the stairwell, there is an exit sign pointing in the direction of a corridor, which is about 10 metres long. A green exit sign and red painted exit sign pointing south are at the end of the corridor. There are then 3 steps down and another corridor, which is about 9 metres long. At the end of this corridor is door 306, which has a push bar and a green exit sign. The only thing being that the exit sign wasn't illuminated when the police searched the area after Bernard was found.
So you're saying there was a way that he could get out,
Yes.
theoretically, but there are a number of stairs and corridors and
Yeah.
things that you would have to navigate in order
Yes.
to get to that door.
Yep.
And someone with dementia
Who's
older,
just panicking because they can't get out.
yeah, exactly, but with dementia, exactly. Who knows what his mobility was like? So obviously he was a walker, but like stairs is a different story. So navigating a lot of stairs might have been difficult.
Yeah.
So that door exit leads to an undercover paved area on Oxford Street. And there's actually an alarm that's triggered when this door is opened, and Westfield records show that the door was not opened between the 6th and the 27th of January.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because
He
he
never got
didn't,
there.
he
Yeah.
didn't leave that stairwell.
No. But neither did the dude check.
Correct. So after Bernard was reported missing, no risk assessment was completed to help inform the next steps. Even after a risk assessment was done 3 days after he was reported missing, the outcome didn't inform or change the direction of the investigation. If it had, an investigator, which is a detective, they use some different terminology, would have been involved much earlier instead of only being appointed on the 25th of January.
Right. And then he was subsequently found on the 27th. So,
Yeah.
okay.
If they'd been involved a lot earlier, they may have coordinated a better search of the Westfield.
Yeah.
While the missing persons standard operating procedure that the police use was updated and improved in 2020, the coroner recommended that the standard operating procedure be clarified that when a police officer takes a missing persons report, they refer to the missing persons checklist, which provides a step-by-step guide as to what inquiries need to be made for a missing persons case.
Okay. I had assumed there was that. Okay.
Not as good
Not
as
as
it-
obvious
yeah.
to the investigator working.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems that between the 7th and the 12th of January, police had the opinion that Bernard had never arrived at the Westfield.
Which is fair because the feedback they got from security was that they couldn't find him.
Exactly.
And they had made, or there'd been that miscommunication about what had been checked. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I can see how that happened.
So police assumed that security had reviewed CCTV footage of all entrances and didn't spot Bernard. They also assumed that security had searched the Westfield in the same way that police might.
Yeah.
That's a big assumption.
Yeah.
Documents used during police shift handovers also gave the impression that Bernard had never arrived. Additionally, the police search of the Westfield on the 9th of January led them to believe he had never arrived because they couldn't find him.
Yeah.
The Westfield's lost and found policy set out the following steps. Obtain information about the missing person, including how they got there and which entrance they used. Call a code grey to notify all staff in the centre of the description of the missing person and direct staff to cover public exits on the level where they were last seen.
Code grey.
That's hard as well in terms of level he was last seen because he was never technically seen there as far as they're aware.
Yeah.
But also lost and found made me think like a
Yeah,
hat,
me
not a
too.
person.
No,
I was
it's like for children and vulnerable people. So.
yeah, which he
Yeah,
is.
I was-
It's fine. But I was
Yep.
just like, lost and found for when a wallet gets handed
Yeah,
in.
that's what
Like,
I was thinking, like, you've lost your jumper, you've lost your handbag.
I've lost
Go to
my
the lost and
husband.
found.
Could you
Yep.
find him, please? Yeah, okay.
And also code grey just reminds me of like a grey person, like not
Yeah.
like a person getting lost.
Right.
Yep.
Code grey.
Search CCTV starting at the time and location the missing person was last seen, and all available staff start a systematic search of the centre.
And so it doesn't sound like that happened at all for him.
No.
But it's hard though because they initially started this overnight. And so I'm like, there wouldn't have been that many staff around, but I would have
No.
thought from like 9 a.m. the next morning when you finally have full staff again, that you would have gone through that procedure. Yeah.
So Westfield security didn't consider that Bernard had arrived because they received no confirmation he had actually attended the centre. Bernard's daughter's report of Bernard being missing was made about 8 hours after he went missing. Police did not tell security that they thought he had actually arrived at the Westfield, and routine patrols of the Westfield failed to locate Bernard. The supervisor on shift when Bernard was reported missing to security did not call a code grey because there was no confirmation Bernard had even been there, and because of the time delay between him going missing and it being reported to them.
What's your thoughts about that in terms of, do you think they should have made the assumption that he had arrived or not?
I think they should have, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard though. I can see myself arguing both sides if I were in that position of arguing, but we don't even know if he ever made it here, so why are we putting these resources in?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or being like, oh no, we just should because like
there's someone who's missing.
He's a vulnerable person. Maybe we should just, how hard is it to do all these checks?
Yeah, and there was something that the coroner went into a little bit actually, was how long it would have taken to review the CCTV footage.
Yeah.
Especially because they were looking at a 12-hour period.
Yeah.
Even if you speed it up, you then need to be paying more attention. And like one of the security people was like, yeah, I've got 20 minutes until I start to lose focus.
Well, that's right. And
you're
it's
just
so
staring at a
easy to
screen.
miss walking in amongst a crowd of people. Like, you do have to be paying attention when you're reviewing
He
those
was
things.
slightly differently dressed to maybe the average person that might have made it easier to see him.
Yeah, but still, like, you don't
Potentially.
know how far away. Sometimes these cameras are not, like, close, like, zoomed up on people's
True.
faces. They're just, like, you just see a figure
Yeah.
walking through. So it depends.
Yeah, right.
You do have to be paying, like, quite close attention, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of security cameras if it's a big Westfield.
Yep.
Exactly.
And they're focused on one entrance, but there's several, like presumably if they'd extended that to all of the entrances
Yeah,
or
it would have taken
whatever.
them a really
And
long
that's what I
time.
find hard to sort of reconcile here, is that they're saying that there was never any confirmation that he entered the building, but they never actually reviewed all the footage, even though they did say, there was communication issues with that respect. The fact is that they didn't review every entrance, so it's like, well, you actually couldn't make that confirmation.
But then they're saying it would have taken so long to review all the footage. How long would have walking through all of those doors and entrances taken?
Exactly.
So that actually for me is the quicker way of
actually
checking
just
is here.
searching.
That actually just, we've got 5 security officers on a shift right now. You have this section of the Westfield.
The
Please
Westfield's
go.
not opening for another, 6 hours, more than.
Yeah, can you just go walk through all of these doors?
Yeah.
But I guess someone technically did 13 days later. Okay, that's tough.
Yep.
All right.
So the lost and found policy was improved in 2019, and it added that searches should include back of house and fire corridors, as well as making it clear that the policy also applied to people who had not been confirmed to attend the centre. So it did improve their process. However, the coroner recommended that this policy be updated to clarify the order in which fire stairs and fire corridors should be searched in the event of a code grey. And that was something the coroner went into as well, is that the previous policy didn't mention fire corridors
At all.
at all. So even if they had called a code grey, they still might not have seen him or
And
found
that's a
him.
big issue because it's such an easy area for someone who's elderly or even a child
To get lost
just
in.
wander in, get lost, and get stuck
Because it's
in.
a one-way door.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it seems simple enough as an adult that...
You just follow the signs to get out.
Yeah, or you just don't go in there because there's a potential you get locked in.
Yeah.
Like-
You are not coming out until 7 corridors and,
exactly.
levels
you
later.
know that, but
Yeah.
not everyone who's frequenting a Westfield does.
Mm.
Or if you haven't just, I guess it's probably signed, but, walked through a one-way door and been like, no, I didn't mean to go here.
Yep.
Didn't mean to.
Whoops.
But even if there are better safety measures on fire escape doors where it trips an alarm to security if someone accesses it when there's, no authority to access it.
Yeah.
Then that would have prevented this
True.
situation as well.
True, but they can't, surely those doors get opened.
Yeah, because I think they also lead to some of the back of house.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
for the store
Doors.
or whatever, so they can't have
Yeah.
an alarm on all of the doors. Yeah. There's a fine line between putting an alarm on every single door and how much extra
Yeah.
work that would create for the security team.
Or
Yeah,
putting a
to check
swipe in option of you have to swipe to open the door.
But you can't if
But-
it's a
you
fire
can't if it's
safety.
fire escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Since January 2017, the frequency of fire stair and fire corridor checks were increased, but the coroner recommended that security staff be provided training in properly checking the fire stairs and fire corridors, and that documentation of the checks be reviewed.
I don't know. That's a tough one of like, how often is someone getting stuck in a fire escape and not being able to get out? So like, how much do you ramp up for the one in a lifetime chance that someone's gotten stuck in there for 21 days?
Do we know that though? Have we done our research on how many people get trapped in fire escapes?
I do not know.
How many times have you heard a story like this?
Well, not someone necessarily dying, but someone getting trapped.
Yeah, true.
I wouldn't think would be that uncommon.
Well, no, but like, again, the average person knows to follow the signs and get out.
Yeah, that's true.
So how many people are truly getting stuck there?
Yeah.
They're actually trapped with no way to get out.
Yeah.
Not
versus getting stuck there and then figuring out
how to get out and then like happy days. Or they have a phone on them nowadays and they call someone and be like, I'm trapped in these.
In fire stairs.
Yeah, often there's no reception. But yeah.
Or you just go through the exit and trip the alarm and then just get told off.
And just deal with it later.
Like, but I was stuck here.
Yeah.
Although the CCTV footage showed Bernard entering the Westfield via the Zara entrance, the footage from this entrance wasn't reviewed by security or police. Instead, they focused on the entrances near Woolworths, where Bernard was supposed to meet his wife. Additionally, the security officers did not ask Bernard's daughter which entrances he usually used. The coroner recommended that the lost and found policy be updated to include that questions about how the person attended the centre, so whether they walked or they got a taxi or
I'll be honest, I actually assumed that they were focusing on that entrance because like the family member had said that's where he would go in.
No. It was just because that's where they were meant to meet.
Yeah, you had mentioned where he normally went in, but like I assumed they were all the same and that was based on the family member.
Yeah,
okay,
no.
yeah, right.
And the entry that they used to be added to the lost person checklist. And it was interesting because the inquest went into the fact that they didn't think it was likely that he used the Zara entrance because there were a bunch of other entrances you would have to walk past to get to the Zara entrance. So why didn't he use any of the other ones?
But they said he used that 2 days before as well, right? When he went.
Yeah, but I don't think I think they probably looked at that CCTV footage as part of the inquest rather than as part of the
Oh, yeah, but clearly he was using the same entrance, is what I mean, in terms of like 2 days, not in a row, but 2 trips in a row, he used the same entrance. So potentially he had a preferential entrance or whatever.
Maybe that's just
where he goes.
It's just where he wanted to go. But yeah, like the security officers were like, but why would he? Because they have so much more knowledge of the centre.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Why would he have picked that entrance? It makes more sense, like, from a direct route perspective.
Yeah, right. So that makes it harder in terms of that search that they were doing because they probably wouldn't have picked that as an obvious location. Yeah, okay.
That makes sense. But we're all creatures of habit, right? Especially with like big buildings like that. You're like, I'm just going to go with the same entrance every time so I don't get lost.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And maybe he just really liked walking through the Zara.
Maybe he just liked the clothes.
No, but he went with his wife who then did shopping and he never went in the stores. So like that's not a good argument.
Maybe he really liked Zara.
The coroner found that the CCTV request made by police was larger than those previously made. To make the job harder, security did not have a known starting point to start reviewing from.
Yeah, fair.
That's true.
The coroner stated that it was unreasonable for security to not extend their CCTV review to the Zara entrance by the day after Bernard went missing, considering its proximity to Woolworths. So they were sort of like, yeah, we get that you had a lot of footage to review.
But this entrance is like right above Woolies, so...
Yeah.
Well, I guess presumably, you know, if Woolies is on level 3 at this side, you then should go, okay, anything on that side of the building,
Above
anything potentially, above and below, and then work out from there. But I guess, again, that's hard because maybe he really liked to come in by Maya down the absolute other end so that he got more aircon, you know? I can see the coroner's point, but I can also be like, it's a needle in a haystack still in terms of not knowing where he normally went.
Yeah, whereas it would be different if he went missing after he and his wife had been in the Westfield together.
Yeah.
Because then they could have, essentially one of the things they do is they go backwards from the last place
he was seen and then follow him. Yeah.
Yeah. But they obviously didn't have that in this case. They had no known starting point.
Yeah.
But like they would have also known where he had come from as well. And yes, I take your point of he could have liked to have entered the whole other side of the building. But they would have known which direction he was staying at with his daughter and where he would have walked.
Yeah, by all accounts, he took the same route every time he went there.
Yeah, right.
Which his wife knew because often they would go together.
Mm.
So his route was known.
Yeah, okay.
The evidence showed that security officers didn't have the same understanding of which cameras had been reviewed due to miscommunications. This was mainly due to no documentation of which CCTV cameras had been reviewed. So this is even between security officers.
Which is also weird of like, if you're reviewing it, surely you would write it down somewhere.
Surely you'd have some sort of methodology. So. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems illogical just from a like, I'm doing all this work by checking the CCTV. Maybe someone should know about it.
What I've checked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to me, but that's fine. Whatever.
So that review process and documentation has since been improved.
That's good.
Started. Commenced.
Yeah. Because of the lack of security documentation of the CCTV review, police misunderstood the extent of the review. So they thought a lot more was being checked than what actually was.
Okay.
Right.
The coroner recommended that the missing person's standard operating procedure be updated to identify and emphasise the importance of gathering CCTV footage, the timing of when the footage should be reviewed, and the need for accurate communication between police and those in the community who are asked to provide and review the footage. Coroner found that it was likely police didn't make a specific request for security to conduct a search on the 7th of January, and police assumed that checks of the fire stairs and fire corridors were completed more than once per month.
Yeah, fair. I can understand how they would have assumed that.
Yeah. The coroner found that the police considered a comprehensive search of Westfield was needed by at least the 9th of January, but the actual search that was done was more of a walkthrough. Appropriate resources were available to police to search the Westfield, but they weren't used because of an incorrect assumption about the availability of a search coordinator.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Because they did a fairly comprehensive search of Centennial Park on another day, using the resources they had available to them.
Oh, that's so disappointing. Right, okay, but they were searching in the wrong place. Yeah, okay.
So the coroner recommended that specific training and education be provided to police officers as to the availability of land searches and the engagement of land search and rescue coordinators for searches of urban areas and commercial premises. And I think that was part of the thing that the police were, I guess, a little confused about, because Centennial Park is an outdoor area, so they're like, yeah, cool, we get the land search coordinator in.
Oh, but Westfield is not
a building.
Yeah.
It's not an outdoor area. Yeah. But really, it's like you can still use them.
That personnel. For whatever.
Yeah.
For searches in general. So just call them the search team.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that's land search and rescue as opposed to sea search and rescue.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Like, because, they're not going to be doing searches of bodies of water. But
yeah. Okay, yeah. What's a better name we can come up with?
Just search and rescue.
In bracket, but not for sea.
The coroner found that the police canvass for available CCTV footage along Bernard's route to Westfield was inadequate because important information about his route wasn't obtained when Bernard was reported missing, or even 3 days after he was reported missing when they, I think, talked to the family again.
Yeah.
So they weren't asking the right questions to start with, either security or the police.
Yeah.
And then just a whole bunch of miscommunication and
I just feel so frustrated for this family.
Incorrect assumptions led to him not being found.
Because surely they would have just wanted to tell people that as well. Be sitting there at home being like, he always went this way, I can tell you all about it. Yeah. But it got onto it pretty quickly. The police clearly established, yes, he's vulnerable, he's missing.
Yeah.
This, has the potential to be bad. And so I'm disappointed that
the execution of it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So yes, a very interesting one. I mean, sad too, they all are, but...
Yeah. I can't imagine being in a stairwell for that many days before you're found.
Yeah.
And now that you say it and it was recommended by someone, I'm like, I feel like I have a memory of this event. As in, I'm sure in the news it was reported.
It would have been.
And so I'm like, okay, actually, I think I remember hearing something like this. And I'm like, oh, it would have been in the media and it would have been sensationalized. It's always nice to get that actual background information of how that actually happened.
Yep.
So.
And it was interesting because some of the expert witnesses, and obviously they couldn't tell how he actually died, but one of the witnesses was like, well, he could have been having a heart attack, was feeling weird, so went into that stairwell.
Oh, there's a number of reasons why he could have got in there.
Yeah. And then, like, he could have died immediately.
Yeah.
But he may have also been alive for 3 days because he had no food and water with him. So that's why they said the 3 days is probably the most he would have been able to survive.
Yeah, okay.
And also potentially some, heat stress, dehydration, that sort of stuff because it was January.
But it does bring me back to the gentleman out on Fraser Island, right? Where the assumption was he was having a medical emergency and that's how he wasn't able to get back or whatever. This one's a bit different because he was clearly locked in there. Yes. But yeah, when you first started telling the story, I was like, oh, I bet you he's had some sort of medical emergency whilst he was there. But I guess maybe because it was such a long corridor, he also just potentially couldn't make it out.
Yeah. And so I think they ended up ruling the death as a misadventure. Like, it might have been natural causes, but they couldn't say for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being stuck in a stairwell may have exacerbated
that.
It's interesting as well that, so one of the expert witnesses said that the absence of feces being found in the stairwell
that's what I was
strongly
thinking.
Suggests that he died within 24 hours of entering the stairwell.
That is pretty fair.
Or that he died within minutes or hours of entering the stairwell.
And that makes me feel better. I think, like, in a sense of if he had his medical emergency and was in a stairwell and was going to naturally pass away anyway, although it's a bit sad that he couldn't have sought medical help in terms of maybe he therefore wouldn't have passed away.
And his family also didn't know where he was for 21 days.
True. I don't know, the small part of me is like, yes, we didn't find him for days, but it wouldn't have changed the outcome. But it's hard to say that that's true because he could have sought medical help.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. It's tough. And how does no one find you?
Yeah.
In a shopping centre.
Like, that's a scary...
Where there are people there 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's just a scary way to die alone in a staircase.
How did no one walk in that stairwell for that period of time until there was a smell?
Yeah.
How weird would you also feel about being a shop employee in, like, one of the shops nearby where, like, that might have been a stairwell that you would potentially use? Imagine if you were, like, if I had gone in there, I potentially would have found a dead body. Because let's be honest, by that point, we think he was deceased anyway. Like,
yeah. Well, it obviously wasn't that frequented because no one went in down to him in 21 days.
Yeah.
You said he wasn't, like, the person could have opened that first door, seen the other door, and then shut it and didn't see or identify him. So clearly he wasn't, like, just in an entryway.
He wasn't right next to the door. I think he was maybe down a flight of stairs or... Yeah, so he entered the door that Bernard walked through and then went to the bottom of the stairwell, and that's where they found him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he'd walked down at least one flight of stairs. It's just so random that there was a chair there with him as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. No, and good recommendation from Charlotte, so.
Very interesting. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another episode. We will see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.